Hey guys, welcome to the Tarsha Homestead. Today we're going to look into building a miter saw station. This is my old miter saw. It's a DWS 780 by DeWalt. I've loved this miter saw. It's done great for me, but this stand leaves a lot to be desired. I always have wood falling off the back. It's just not great storage. Every time dust falls off of here, I have to get under here and crawl down there with a vacuum or a broom to clean it up. So we're going to look at some different things that we can do to improve on that, some storage solutions, some in-feed and out-feed capability with stop blocks, and maybe even a more compact setup than this giant slider sitting all the way out the back. So if you're interested in checking out our new miter saw station, stay tuned. My name's Alex. Follow me into my shop. Let's go check it out. Here you can see my old miter saw setup. I had the shop back hooked up to it with like PVC coupler or something like that. And then you can see like there's just dust everywhere. There's wood scraps underneath it. I've got all the yard tools right there beside it because I didn't have anywhere else for them. I've got dust collection hoses laying there and other scrap wood. And it was just time to do something a little bit better. So first step is cleaning up, getting all of these yard tools out of the way, getting the scrap wood organized and cleaned up, and then a little bit of sweeping done to get that space prepared and ready in order to start building a miter saw station. It's important to make sure you take the time to get your foundation right. The time spent in advance getting the area clean and prepped for the build makes it so much easier to have a successful build. So the first thing to do is to start breaking down the sheet goods. These are 3/4 inch pieces of plywood, so kind of take my time making sure that I don't have to make many adjustments here and make sure that my fence is set up exactly where I want it up front. And I got the dust collector going. I get the wood kind of prepped right here where I think it'll sit, and then I turn on the saw and push it through. This is a tricky setup. I don't own a track saw, so I have to run the plywood through in its full size on the table saw. I guess arguably I could use a circular saw with a straight edge, but I just don't trust myself with that. Believe it or not, I trust myself more wielding a giant 4x8 sheet of plywood than I do drawing a straight line with the circular saw. So I go ahead and go for it this way. It actually works out just fine until a little bit later when you watch. You'll see me do a cross cut, and that does not go so well. Now it's time to do some cross cuts. And you'll see me, first thing I do is go check that the blade is set up just right again. I don't know why I have trust issues with my fence, but I always check it, and it's always right on, but I still always check it. I guess it's the measure twice, cut once scenario. Here's where I stopped thinking and decided to do something that was pretty dumb. Luckily I didn't get hurt or anything, so no need to worry there, but it just wasn't a smart idea to try to do a cross cut on this big sheet with the majority of the sheet hanging off the unsupported edge with absolutely no support. So as you can see, when I get this cut through, it's going to be kind of humorous to watch because while I get through the scenario just fine, you'll see me drop the off cut from the weight of it. It was at this moment that I realized I was stupid. Now you may ask, if you realized that was stupid, then why are you doing it again? Well, at this point, now I'm cut down the sheet to much more manageable size. You'll notice that it's mostly supported all the way down the length of it. So I was less concerned at this point. Ultimately, that first cut, I should have had some support out on the right-hand side of your screen there. I'll save you the boring footage of me cutting up a whole bunch more sheets of plywood. Instead, we'll jump right into starting doing a little bit of the build. Here we are doing some of the pocket hole setup. I've got the shop vac running hooked up to the Craig K4, I believe it is. And I'm just cutting these pocket holes for the stretchers for the carcasses of the base cabinets. Since I know watching me drill pocket holes is incredibly entertaining, let's just go ahead and speed this up a little bit. Now this is a really cool idea that came as part of the J. Bates plans for this miter saw station. And it's just a really quick way to drill a couple holes in half a piece of 2x4, hammer in some T-nuts, and then put a carriage bolt in there to make adjustable feet. These will screw into the bottom sides of the base cabinets, and then you can adjust that carriage bolt sticking out the bottom of the piece of 2x4 there in order to level your cabinets. I just thought it was a really cool idea because it was super cheap and very easy to do, and it did give me full adjustability of the whole thing. The only quirk that I had to run into was if I didn't hammer that T-nut in perfectly square, my carriage bolt would run into the side of the hole that was drilled, and so I'd have to drill it out a little bit further. So just be careful when you're hammering those in, make sure you get them nice and square. Now that I've got all these little adjusters in place, I'm just going to clamp them and pre-drill the holes, countersink them a little bit, and run some screws in to hold it in place. I probably should have glued them, but it's one of those things, hindsight is 20/20. Cool, 2 more screws and I'm all done. I'm going to do the same thing to the other base cabinets, the other 2, and then I'll be on with the rest of the build. Now that that's done, it's time to flip it back onto its feet so that I can get it leveled all the way around and lined up exactly 36 inches to the front face of the cabinet carcass to the wall. I'm going to go around with the level and adjust each corner and try to get it level front to back and side to side. And this process is pretty self-explanatory. With those leveling feet that I created from J. Bates Design, you just lift up the end and unscrew the carriage bolt a little bit to raise that section, or screw the carriage bolt in a little bit to raise that section. It's important to not just level this front and back, side to side, but also between carcasses from this carcass to the one that you can see just in the bottom left of that chart as well. Fast forward a little bit here and you can see that I've got the upper cabinets built and placed on top of the base cabinets. Now I'm just ripping down some more of the plywood to get all the pieces cut to make the drawers. So just a few more rips on the table saw, a bunch of cross cuts. I get everything cut at this point. Literally all the cuts made in advance. I marked on each one on the top corner with a pencil to mark which piece it is, and then set them off to the side so that when it came time to come back and build the drawers, there was no question about which pieces went together to build a drawer set. Now I'm just going to put the drawer base on this drawer. It's nothing special, just throwing a bead of glue around it. Gonna set the base in place and then pre-drill and screw in some screws. Just taking my time to make sure everything is square here. And then I'm going to do this same process again 100,000 times. No, not really. It's just it felt that way because doing these drawers was fairly monotonous. There were a lot of them to do, and they were all exactly the same, so just kind of pop in the headphones and get in a groove and zone out and forget that I'm taking video for a little bit. This really is more of the same, just from artsy-fartsy camera angle here. And one thing I do want to point out is that these little Craig, I don't even know what to call them, the right angle vice grips are totally a lifesaver when it came to making these drawers. I did the first couple without them and then had to make a Lowe's trip for something else, so I snagged a pair of those, and boy, just having that extra set of hands there to hold that drawer exactly in place in that joint while I run the screw in is totally worth it. As you know, if you've ever done pocket screws, they have a tendency to make the wood walk on you a little bit, so to put it in clamps and hold it in place here really made it a lot nicer. I didn't have to sit there and fight with all the joints as I was screwing them in. I could just run the screw in and be done. So I'd throw that in there for the first screw and then switch it over to the next joint, throw it on there, and then I would fill in that previous screw that this thing had been sitting in, and I would do that same process all the way around until I was done with the whole drawer. Now that I finished putting the drawer together, I test fit the base. It's a little bit oversized, so I run it through the table saw again real quick just to size it up for a perfect fit. And now it's time to throw a bead of glue on, just like you saw in the other video. Pre-drill and run the screws in. Shortly after this clip, my camera battery died, and frankly, I just didn't feel like dealing with it. My choices were to continue working or to go inside, charge the camera battery, upload all the clips off of there, and then come back out and set it all back up to record the rest. I really should have recorded some of it because I didn't get any footage of me doing the drawer slides, and that was a pretty tricky process. But if you're curious about how to do that, head over to Jay Bates's channel. I'll link it down below in the description. He's got really good videos of how he built this miter saw station. So there's nothing here that you're going to see that's new. I really wanted this video to be more about my implementation of this miter saw station, not so much about every little minor detail about how to build it. If you need that kind of information, his resource is way better than mine, and he's got plans on his site. So go to the source if you need that. All right, here it is in all its glory, our new miter saw station. This is based off the plans from Jay Bates. I'll link those down below. I actually built it pretty much exactly to his specifications with some minor modifications. He has 3 banks of drawers here, and it's because his butts up against a wall on the left-hand side there, and mine doesn't. So I didn't want that 3rd set of drawers, so I didn't make those. Next, it had a small set of drawers right here, like a 9-inch set of drawers or something like that. And I didn't want that either because I didn't need the flat space over on this side. So instead, I just built another set of full width drawers like these. In fact, they're the same measurements as these. In his plans, he calls them a T1 and a T2, top 1, top 2. So I built a second T2 and put it over there with a single drawer, and I'll show you that in a minute. I faced all of it with hardwood maple that's just there to kind of keep the edge from getting beat up too much. The actual miter saw stand itself here is 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood glued together, and then I got the idea from Caleb Harris over on You Can Make This Too. I used bolts with T-nuts, I think is what they're called, hammered into a plate on the sides here, and so these make it completely adjustable height. Rather than going and building this exactly for the right height, I can build it with a little bit of adjustment in there up and down, and then I can tighten or loosen these bolts in order to raise and lower the miter saw and get it the perfect height to match the in-feed and out-feed. Hi, kitty cat. These drawers are all on drawer slides all the way around. The drawer slides are really kind of a pain in the butt to do. This is really my first project doing it, and using different size templates to hold up and set the drawer slide up against before you screw it in really helps a lot. But even still, like, this drawer is really smooth. This drawer is pretty smooth, but then you get up to this drawer and it's got quite a bit of drag on it. And I think part of that is just a slight misalignment of the drawer slides. So that was pretty difficult to get those just right. This is made out of almost entirely 3/4 inch birch veneer plywood. And then the drawer faces and a few other odds and ends are made with 1/2 inch birch veneer plywood. The new miter saw here is the Delta Cruiser. It's the V2 with the robotic arms. I don't know exactly what those are called, but it's just a very smooth glide. And what's interesting is I've got about 1 foot of space behind this up against the wall there. So I could have gone even less deep with this thing. But Jay's plans had this built for a full slider saw like my old one. And I liked that because you get a whole lot of storage in the drawers, and that's something I've really been lacking in the shop. So I decided to go ahead and allow it to be a little bit deeper, and that's okay. The big thing about having this space is the dust collection, which I haven't set up yet, but it allows me to make a cut. All the dust gets thrown back in here, and then I can sit here and come back with the shop vac to clean it up. Eventually I'll get my dust collector plumbed all the way around, and it'll actually have full-time dust collection in there. This is one of my favorite features here. I got the idea from Caleb Harris that you can make this too, but I think he got the idea from somebody else, and I can't remember who, Jackman, I think, Jackman's Woodworks. But this drawer is latched on, or latched closed with just the face. Ooh, I'm at the extent of my mic wire here. We'll try to keep going anyway. The show must go on. This flips down, and now I've got my grinder station and my spindle sander. The downside with the spindle sander is, as you can see, the height is a little bit too high to really use, so I don't know if I'll keep this here. I might move that somewhere else, but the grinder has been great. I just sharpened a couple bits on it yesterday, and it works out really perfect. It's nice to have somewhere to store that thing that I don't use every day, but then have standing access to it when I do. So I like the way this closes up, tucks away, and it's not wasted space, but I don't have to have a whole nother stand for a grinder station. I have a little bit of cutoff storage there where I can make cuts and throw them down, and then yeah, I've got all this storage on top that I haven't decided what to do with it just yet. The original plans have little like 12-foot or 12-inch cubbies up there. I don't love open storage, so we'll just wait and see. Maybe if I end up needing more storage, I might do that, but for now, I'm just gonna wait and see. I've got T-track here with adjustable stop blocks. The bolts that I have in there, I don't think are quite right, because you can see that it's kind of choppy, and everybody else's were really smooth, so I might have to tinker with that a little bit still. But overall, it's really accurate. I'm just using this Starrett adhesive backed tape measure. And I can just set my stop block for 36 inches, make a cut, and it'll be exactly 36 inches. As for this saw, you probably want to see it work. Oh, hey, check this out. This is what happens when you get kickback and you launch a piece of hard maple into your gut. Yeah, see all that bruising? That was not my finest moment. Anyway, let's make a cut, just check it out. You're gonna see a ton of dust come out, and just keep in mind I have no dust collection at all set up right now. I don't have a vacuum hooked up to the saw. I don't have the dust collector plumbed in. This is literally just raw cutting with this thing. But what I love is turning on this little guide. I can see the little shadow line, and I just make my cut. And it's really a smooth, of all the different saws I've touched, this has the smoothest slider I've ever felt. So I'm really impressed by that. So yeah. At this point, I've just been putting stuff in here as I can, finding places for my router bits and stuff like that. A little bit of hardware storage. I got all my Craig stuff in here, and then I've got all the paint supplies down here in this bottom one. And these are on double hung because of the additional weight that would be in them because they're so large. I'm super stoked with this miter saw station. I got a whole bunch of storage and organization that I didn't have before. I've got much better use of the space. I've got in-feed and out-feed support so things aren't falling off my stand anymore. It's perfect. It's exactly what the doctor ordered. And Jay Bates, you did a phenomenal job designing a station that was just modular enough that I could tweak it a little bit for my needs. Caleb Harris, you can make this too. I'm so glad I saw your station and got ideas like the adjustable height for this and the grinder station there. Just thanks for doing awesome work. Hey guys, if you like homesteading videos, you like woodworking videos, we've got the chickens out here. Pretty soon we'll be doing some videos on that. One of our next videos is going to be some of the work around the yard with the tractor. The Tarsha Homestead is really meant to be a channel for all the things that interest us, which are livestock, animals, gardening, our wood shop, Emily's quilting, which she'll be doing some videos and stuff on that soon too. So if you like this kind of stuff, give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit the bell so that you get notified about new content that we create. And man, thanks for checking us out. We'll see you next time.